Hey guys, Mark Balash here. Are you thinking about getting into an Airbnb or short-term rental space? If the answer is yes, you probably want to watch this video until the end. My wife Anna and I are both entrepreneurs and real estate investors. Back in mid-2019, we owned multiple investment properties and we were nearing the completion of the rehab on one of them. We had purchased it as a flip, but decided to rent it as a short-term rental for 2, maybe 3 months, just to get a feel for it and see what type of result we can get. We had absolutely no idea what to expect. We had no experience, but most importantly, we had nothing to lose thinking of the worst case scenario. The property had plenty of equity, so we could put it up on the market if it didn't work out. Something that made things easier for us was that there was no mortgage on a property. The property was located outside of Atlanta, Georgia, in an average neighborhood. We were purchasing a bunch of properties up there back then and ended up purchasing this particular property at a government auction. But despite the location, the timing was great because even though there was a pandemic, the majority of hotels were completely shut down and people that were traveling still needed a place to stay. After we published our listings, we got our first booking with our first guest who stayed with us for 27 days. And that, my friends, was a good start. After conducting a research and seeing higher demand, we decided to rent individual rooms, which was a very smart idea because we were nearly always fully booked. Remember, we had 5 separate listings on this one property alone. It was more time consuming from a management standpoint, but it was worth it. And this is how we got started with our first property we consider success. The only challenge with running this particular property was finding the right property manager. We ended up changing the entire structure after some time and started to rent the entire house as opposed to individual rooms. One of the things we learned was that it is extremely difficult managing the property remotely if you do not have the right team in place. Both my wife and I are very detail-oriented, and it was often very difficult to do things without physically being there. Initially, we had a great team of people, a cleaning crew, the management, and everything was working just great for a good amount of time until our team fell apart. One person left the state, the manager started to slack, and his performance just wasn't getting the job done the way we were expecting. And that was the time we knew we need to do something. We had several good years in short-term rental space, owning multiple properties, out of which all of them were doing well. However, in the summer of 2022, we started to see a significant decline in bookings, which also resulted in decreasing our nightly rates. Following the third quarter of 2022, we started to think about leaving this space completely. And here are some of the reasons why. Short-term rental market was becoming very oversaturated. We noticed a huge increase in new listing. People were converting garages into rentable rooms. A lot of people were fixing up like older homes and converting them into short-term rental. There was that mass of people that entered that space of short-term rental in relatively short amount of time. Many of our competitors were forced to adjust the nightly rates just to remain competitive. The property values hit all-time high and there was a very low inventory to choose from. The ROI on short-term rentals was becoming less and less attractive. So, to summarize this, in the summer of 2022, we noticed the market cooling off. The home prices started to slowly go down, which made it tough to make the numbers work on short-term rentals, and on the top of that, the summer of 2022 was surprisingly weak for our existing rentals. Because of that, we could not keep the same nightly rates. After dedicated good amount of time and studying the numbers very carefully, it just started to make sense to move capital from short-term rentals into other types of real estate investment. That's where I began to strategize an exit plan for our short-term rental properties. With the value of hindsight, I feel good about the timing of the decision. So what have we learned? Every investment has cycles. Be aware of the timing getting into specific investments. Each investment has better entry points. It is important to get into any specific investment at the best time possible to capitalize on that investment, the best of your ability. We think it is always important to know what your exit strategy is and when to apply it. We were fortunate enough to get into this space at the right time by identifying high demand and acting upon it fairly quickly. Would we get into this space again? Probably not. Mostly because we are looking for investments that are more passive and require less of my personal attention and involvement. But that does not mean that there are no opportunities in short-term rental space. Airbnb isn't going anywhere. We have seen some changes, better for the most part, after Airbnb became a publicly traded company, but there are areas that still need improvements. I believe there are huge opportunities for people with really creative ideas. The listings that are able to charge a premium are the ones where the owners are going above and beyond with designs, creating an experience for the guests that is totally one of a kind. But everyone has to find an investment that is right for them. As for me, I'm convinced that I can double the cash flow on another investment we're getting into outside of a short-term rental that will not be as time-consuming as Airbnb. To some people, even $30,000 generated from Airbnb can replace their existing annual income, the amount of money they make, and they may be working 5 or 6 days a week. Other people may not start anything unless they make $60,000 or $70,000 or six-figure. Everybody's investment objectives are different. For us, it was just a matter of knowing in how many years we want to retire. If we can retire 2 years earlier by doubling our monthly cash flow on specific investment, why not? The decision was made knowing that the cash flow will be significantly increased to our joint venture partner in this deal. I really hope our story and the information we provided in this video was informative. If you would like to learn about new investments that will significantly increase our monthly cash flow, what we're planning as our next investment, keep an eye for an upcoming video in which we'll be discussing this topic. Please do not forget to hit subscribe for more videos with valuable information we'll be releasing in the future. Thank you again for watching, and I look forward to seeing you all on my next video. Thank you guys.